Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Norisring. Welcome to the streets of Nuremberg. We are getting ready for round 4 of this epic 2026 season for the DTM. We're approaching the halfway point of the season and we are getting ready for races 7 and 8 of this season. Air temperature is 19.7 degrees centigrade, which is a great relief to all of us because after the Lausitz ring, well, I'm still trying to recover from that one now. It was hot and sweaty. I think the temperature might be increasing a bit today and it might increase a little bit more over the weekend. When I arrived here on Wednesday, it was monsoon conditions, torrential rain and thunderstorms. I'm pleased that they have all moved off now and the audience is currently packing itself into the Norisring, getting ready for the first of 2 free practice sessions here. We are expecting a lot of people to be seated into the grandstands that are specially built here around the streets of Nuremberg, and you can see them starting to fill up already in the glorious German sunshine. The main Stein tribune stand out on the pit straight has had a lot of restoration work going on with it, and so the other stands around are taking a lot of the pressure this weekend as people come in for what is undoubtedly an absolute highlight of the DTM calendar. If you did join us at the hot and sweaty Lausitz ring, you would have seen in the second race, Matteo Cairoli jumping to the top of the point standings by just 1 point from Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. Look how close those standings are. 78 to 77, Marco Wittmann in 4th place. We're going to keep an eye on him because he is from just down the road in Fürth. This is his local track. He will have a very vocal fan club here who will be packing onto the terraces. We'll look for the green and white livery of his fans as this weekend progresses. It is such a unique circuit. It has just 5 turns. Some people say it's only got 4 turns, but it depends on whether you count the little kink in the pit straight as a turn or not. 5 turns, 4 to the left and 1 to the right. It is just 2.162 kilometers around. We run in an anti-clockwise direction. We are in the city of Nuremberg. It is the only German street circuit, and it is a great place to come for this, the 4th round of the 2026 season of DTM. It's the 42nd season of this legendary championship, and we are part of the ADAC Norisring Speed Weekend, the 83rd Speed Weekend here at the Norisring. And just to continue with the statistics, it is the, I believe, 37th and 38th time that we have been here with the DTM for racing around the streets of Nuremberg. It is a circuit that is constructed over weeks leading up to this weekend. It takes an awful lot of people, an awful lot of time to build it. You just saw there the tents. That's where the teams are based, and that will be the pit lane. And it's great to see everybody here enjoying the sunshine. Now, we're not expecting any rain, certainly not today. I've heard rumour there might be a little bit around the middle of the day tomorrow, but on the whole, the forecast for the weekend is looking good as we get ready for the first of this free practice session. So this circuit, which is nicknamed the Franconian Monaco, is about as close to an oval as you're ever going to get in DTM racing, and we have a long straight that runs out of the Dutzendijk curve, turn 4, and it runs past the pits, and it's one of the longest straights on the calendar. So even though we're in the streets, along this straight here, on the other side of that wall that you can see, the drivers get some pretty high speeds, well over 250 kilometers an hour in racing conditions before the heavy braking into the Grundig turn 1. It creates lots of great racing, sometimes a bit of controversy, especially into that first turn, which is a real tight hairpin. The Grundig turn is often a position where drivers will try and make an overtaking move, and if they don't make it stick, it can end in disasters. So we've already talked about the Drivers' Championship briefly. It's Matteo Cairoli who leads from Mauro Engel, Lucas Auer, Marco Wittmann. In 5th place in the championship is Ben Durr. Ben, who has already this season earned more points he has in the previous 2 seasons combined. Such has been his progress, and he took that first ever win at the Norisring in race 1 last time around. We'll look at the points and we'll look at the standings a little bit more as this session goes on. For those of you who are really observant, you will have noticed that it's me doing the lead comms this weekend. My name is Brian Oliver. Chris Hartley is currently loitering somewhere down in Silverstone, some Formula 1 event going on there, or something or the other. To Norisring Le Mans winner, no less. Good morning, Norisring.
Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be here on the other side of the track, actually. Yeah, really looking forward to support you for the weekend in the commentary box of the DTM.
Yeah, this is a whole new experience for you, isn't it? Sitting in a commentary box, and you must be looking at the cars out on the track at the moment and going, it's all very well being in a commentary box. I'd rather be out there racing.
Obviously, that's the seat you always want to be in, but it's also fun to see the other side. It's quite nice to see how the drivers will prepare themselves for this weekend, which will be quite a special one. So it's it's going to be great to give a shout on it.
Brilliant. Well, we're really looking forward to it, and I'm really looking forward to getting some insight because as someone who's never sat behind the wheel of one of these things, not to mention attempted to drive one, I haven't got a clue. Anyone who's heard the commentary will probably agree with that. So hopefully we're going to get some good insight as the weekend goes on, and we can learn a little bit about your perspective as a driver, and we can see all the action that's going on here. So to give you a few ideas, well, this morning we're in this first free practice session. It's the first of 2 free practice sessions. This is the longer one, so 55 minutes. Really, really important time for the drivers to get up to speed. In qualifying last year, it was Jordan Pepper who took the fastest time. It was a 48.467. It takes me most of the year to get used to saying a time that doesn't start with 1 minute and. So yes, that's how short this lap is. Just 48 seconds. 48.467 was the quickest. I believe that was the lap record here at the Norisring as well. I think in free practice this morning, we're probably not going to get anywhere near that because this is all about the setup and all about getting the car into the groove. So at this point, the first time, of course, we can't test here because the track is built specially for it. So this first free practice session,
that they're still quite careful with the walls and they try to get into their rhythm to go a bit tighter to them. On the other hand, the track is obviously used by road cars for the whole year, so the track is going to be quite dirty. Therefore, it's quite difficult to find a way to set up in this stage of the weekend. So what you'll see is that the drivers are going to do many laps just to get into their own rhythm. And then later, especially in FP2, you'll see that they're going to make some changes once they also see what the track behavior is going to be. As you can see also now, the cars are bumping quite a lot in here. So it's really important to have a car that's compliant with the bumps and to survive the action that's going to unpack here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bit that strikes me coming out of turn 4, the Dutzendijk corner that we're looking towards now. That especially there seems to be quite bumpy. So I can imagine that can catch you out.
Definitely, especially there's a very big bump on the apex as you go onto power, and it's really important to hit the throttle in a way that you don't get surprised by this bump. And you'll see also tomorrow and Sunday in the races that if we have safety car restarts, it's always going to be around there because the drivers know that it's such a difficult place to be. And also as you see the cars entering the last corner, it's so bumpy under the braking already that it's very important to optimize your line, not to optimize the corner line, but to optimize the bumps under braking.
So this is that session where you learn where that line is, I guess, and you find out where the bumps are, because I imagine the circuit will have changed dramatically in the last year because it's had, as you say, it's had road cars on it, it's had people walking on it, it's had probably rain, snow, wind, all the rest of it. And there's probably patches that have been resurfaced, so I imagine the circuit has probably changed dramatically from last year.
I think it's definitely true, and also the organizers have done a great job that they always try to optimize the track, and it looks great and very clean. But still, just with the nature of, you know, there's trucks driving over this place, there's cars, you don't know, maybe there was an accident or something, and maybe in one corner the bump changed a bit. quite funny story last year, for example, as we did the track walk here, we saw that one wall had moved maybe 1 or 2 centimeters, and everyone was laughing at us for it not to be true. But then we asked at the driver's briefing, and it ended up being true. So it can always be something that changed a little bit. So just looking blindly at your notes from last year and not changing anything is maybe not the way to go.
How do you even know that a wall has moved 1 or 2 centimeters? I mean, I wouldn't even know if it had moved about a meter. I wouldn't have noticed. I mean, that's very observant. How did you even see that?
Yeah, well, they're always aligned on the white lines, and there was one reference point where it was quite clear, and then Tommy Preining and me, we had a look, and we couldn't figure out what was going on, and then in the end we figured out it's just the wall.
Racing driver, do you? And I'm imagining here, because the track is very green at the moment. I mean, we've had GT4 and Porsche doing some free practice here this morning, but I'm guessing the rubber has got to be laid down yet. And my assumption is, as long as it doesn't rain, that as this weekend goes on, it's going to get grippier and grippier. Is that right?
Definitely. You also see with the new tire that they have this year, the new compound, that they lay down quite some rubber, and it's going to be quite important for them also to figure out where the competition is driving, especially, for example, in the chicane of turn 2 and 3, there's going to be only one line, and you have to figure out where the rest is driving to be able to commit to this line. So it's quite important to see where the rubber is and what the drivers have to take into account for the rest of the weekend, actually.
So, talking of the tyres, we all want to know what the tyre allocation is, because I know you are absolutely on the edge of your seats about that one. So, for this weekend, the tyre allocation is 3 new sets. The drivers and teams are allowed 4 new sets for the Red Bull Ring, Zandvoort and Sachsenring and Hockenheim. But as was the case at Lausitzring, it is just 3 new sets for this weekend. So does that change the strategy? Does that change how you go about the weekend, because you've got that one less set of tyres?
Absolutely, and I think since last year already, when we had the introduction of the 2 pit stop race on Sunday, it makes a huge difference actually, because it means that in any case, at one stage of the race, you will have a really used set of tires. So it makes it even more important in today's free practice sessions to have a good read on the car, also on maybe less optimal grip conditions, because it will create quite some differences. Also in this track it's going to be quite unique. The tire degradation is not that high, since the corners are just relatively slow. So it's important for the drivers to also get a read on that and see how the balance will react with this.
Yeah, so we were talking before we came on air, and you'd said then that the tyre degradation was quite low, which actually I was quite surprised about, because in my mind, when you're reaching the really high speeds of in excess of 260 kilometers an hour, maybe down the pit straight in towards turn 1, then that heavy braking, then that tight turn 1, I thought that would be, that's quite high tyre deg, but you're saying not.
Well, I think it's much more a discussion about the tarmac actually, so the asphalt that's on the track. Obviously, high-speed corners tend to degrade the tire more. Also, the low-speed acceleration. But it's more a question of the tarmac, whether it's grippy or not, and whether it demands a lot of rubber from the tire. And here it's quite smooth. You don't see big graining also on the tire when it leaves the car. And you see that the stones are quite tight together, just to put it in simple words. And that makes all the difference here. Anyway, there will be some tire degradation going on, which is something very positive also with the new tire that we see now in the DTM. I think it's a great step for the raceability, but it will not be as big of a topic as in Zandvoort, for example.
No, and we're always talking about tyres at Zandvoort, aren't we? And Sachsenring. Well, looking at what's going on track, I suppose we ought to talk about that briefly, oughtn't we? Because at the moment, Mirko Bortolotti is the quickest man on track, 49.605, which is, it's still a little way off the quickest time from last year. But as we said, at the moment, we're just establishing grip, establishing where the the limits are and just getting a setup on the car. But it's Mirko Bortolotti at 49.605 the first time on the board, and Max Powell in second. So good to see the Lamborghini Temerario doing well. As I said, that was Ben Dura who jumps to the top with a 49.593. Our latest winner in the DTM, Ben Dura, who took that win on the Saturday. It was the first time Ben Dura had stood on the top step of the podium, and it's the first time a McLaren has ever won a race in the DTM as well. That was very exciting. I mentioned at the start of the show that Ben Dura has already this year earned more points than he's had in the last 2 seasons combined. He's got 67 points. It puts him in 5th place in the championship. He's just 11 points back from Matteo Cairoli, so he's very much in the championship hunt. And I think the rate of progression with Ben Dura, we've said this in our previous broadcasts, has been phenomenal. I commentated on him in GT4 Germany a few years ago, and he was very much kind of a midfield runner. Came into DTM, but it feels like the steps that he's taken, and of course you were up against him in the rookie championship last year, and we'll just point out that you actually won the rookie championship in the DTM last year, rookie of the year, but his progression has been good, hasn't it?
Definitely. I think to win a race in DTM you need to have a really high level, which he's showing. Also to be there multiple races, not just the one-off, shows that he's definitely making progression. So it's great for him. He's going to be in a completely different state now, where he's one of the guys being looked at for the championship. But I think for him it's going to be important to have that same flow and mindset, just to approach it weekend by weekend. And it's going to be interesting how he will also cope with it this weekend. Obviously, Norisring, it's going to be all about qualifying, where you need to be really on it, and 1/10 can mean 5 positions. So it's really important for him to just stay in his groove and do what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's doing it well. So yes, this will be the real challenge, won't it? And getting up close and personal with those walls, that's one thing to conquer as well. Finding the limits of the track, finding the limits of the car. But I imagine that with that first win, that weight off your shoulders, yes, I can win, I am a winner, I am a championship contender, and that must be a massive psychological step forwards for a driver.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, and you're also going to be less maybe frustrated when things don't go your way, and you can settle with it, which is something that's so important in this championship, because you can't simply win all weekends. The championship is not designed for it, with the success ballast that he's going to carry on Saturday. So it's going to be for him also important to just focus on each race ahead, and he can also be a bit more relaxed by now, I think.
Yes, absolutely. You just saw in the background the other car that won at the Norisring last time out. The first driver to take 2 wins this season, Matteo Cairoli. Just up ahead of him is the gold and blue Mercedes of Mauro Engel, the driver who has been at the top end of the championship for the whole season so far, but Matteo Cairoli jumping to the top of those standings as a result of that win in race 2. What an emotional win that was for him. So Matteo Cairoli, well, he'll be looking to become the first 3 times winner in the DTM this year. You can see there it's jumped him ahead of Mauro Engel and Lucas Auer. Lucas, who's yet to win a race this year, but has been very, very consistent in the number 22 car. He's had a second, a third, a second. He's had a 6 as well. I'd say that the race to Norisring was not as successful as he'd hoped for, with an 11th place, but it's consistency, picking up the points as the season goes along. That's what wins championships, not just race wins. And I think Luigi very much carrying on from where he was last year. I think a lot of people are going to have one eye on Marco Wittmann. He is the overtaker. He's overtaken more cars than anybody else this year. I need Chris Hartley to get the actual stat. It was certainly he'd done, I think it was 28 overtakes prior to coming into this weekend. He's done a lot of overtaking. If they can sort the quali out on that BMW, you get the feeling that he is going to be up there big time, along with Kelvin van der Linde. If they can get that car sorted in quali, then maybe they're going to be in a better opportunity of a podium finish.
Definitely, and they also have a great crew in the box. They're always really fast, and you saw also at Norisring that they made the difference with that to actually jump the pack and go further. And yeah, it seems to be really Achilles heel for them, the qualifying, which is so important in this championship. And it's actually surprising how well they are able to overtake and to come back into the field. So definitely, if they can figure out their qualifying, it would be really important for them to maybe change that mid-pack that they're usually in to go to the front runners. And also, as you said, for for me, it's so impressive how consistent he is. He's always there, not winning or poling it that much, but just always there. And that's also what's putting him in this championship position. Same like last year, until the last race, he was always in the fight. And I think it's quite impressive to be a driver like this.
I don't think there's anybody on the grid who would begrudge Lucas Auer taking a championship. He was so gracious last year. He'd led for much of the season, and then we had that insane last race, this insane last lap at Hockenheim at the end of last year. And Lugi saw his dreams of taking a DTM title taken away. Let's have some team radio from Finn Wiebelhaus. Or let's not, as the case may be. Maybe Finn's not got a lot to say. Well, he ought to have a lot to say because he has been doing really well, and he got his first podium last time out at the Norisring in race 2. So Finn Wiebelhaus, really impressed with him.
Definitely, he did a great job already at Red Bull Ring to put it on the front row, and also to beat his teammate at the Norisring. It shows that he's someone with great capabilities. It's also great to see the Ford project that it takes up a bit. They definitely have some improvements compared to last year, and the car looks a bit nicer to drive from the outside. So it's great for him, and I'm also very interested to see throughout the year how he will develop and if he can stay there.
Yes, absolutely. The Evolution, the Evo pack that was fitted to the Mustang, they're carrying an upgraded front end this year to cure some handling issues from last season, which, as you say, made it look like a bit of a handful. Arjun Miney noted that the car is exceptionally fast in a straight line, but can suffer from traction issues out of tight, slow corners, which is a bit bad news around here because it's tight, slow corners. It certainly turns 1 and turns 4. But Finn Wiebelhaus certainly has been getting on top of it, as indeed is Arjun Miney, because we saw him take that pole position last time out at the Norisring in race 2, eventually bringing it home in 4th place. And that was a great battle between Arjun and Finn Wiebelhaus. But the podium for Finn has moved him in the joint first place in the Rookie of the Year standings. So Finn Wiebelhaus with 150 points, and also Nicola Bart. What a great job he's doing. He's just quietly getting on with it in the Come To You Racing Aston Martin. So both of them have 150 points in the Rookie of the Year Championship. In 3rd place is Tom Calender, and he has 147. So he's only 3 points back in the Rookie of the Year. So lots of championships going on. We have the Drivers' Championship. We have the Rookie of the Year. We have the Pit Stop Challenge, which has also got joint leaders. Manthey and Emil Frey lead the way with 12 points ahead of Schubert, who has 7 points in the Pit Stop Challenge. In the team standings, Schubert Motorsport have 119 points. They are 4 points clear of Emil Frey Racing and 6 points clear of Winwood. And in the manufacturer standings, Mercedes-AMG have a 38-point lead over BMW, so in a very healthy position there. And it is a Mercedes at the moment that has gone purple in Sector 1 in the hands of that man there, Lucas Auer, in the car that is affectionately known as the shoebox. It certainly handles a lot better than a shoebox, looks stunning in the livery, the blue and white livery. But Lucas Auer, purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. So does it look to you like Lucas Auer is pushing on, or is this just the evolution of the track?
I think we're seeing with everyone that the track is ramping up a little bit. We see quite some green sectors on the board. And also the drivers are just getting more into their rhythm. As you see, he's also getting a bit closer to the walls. And we're going to see that all session long. I think that's quite nice on the Norisring, that there's not a big tire deck, so that the drivers can really push their lap time lap after lap. And as you see, for example, here, he's still taking a little bit of caution, which is also normal, and I think it's also interesting to see the approach that differs per driver. Some drivers are on 110% from the first lap. Some drivers build it up slowly, and I think this also really shows what kind of driver Luigi is, that he's always having his head behind it and also taking the car to the end in a safe way.
It's interesting you talk about ramping it up, because I imagine that if you stack it in a free practice session, not only is it going to clearly terminate your free practice session, but that must set you back for the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely, because you just miss really valuable track time. Your confidence takes a little bit of a hit, so you're going to maybe second guess some decisions you make that normally are going to be taken by instinct. So it's all about finding that very thin line between pushing the limit but also taking care of the car and the tires. And I think it really differs per driver and per car.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Well, there's the man who's pushing on at the moment, Mirko Bortolotti, certainly with the revised homologation, the supplementary homologation they've had on the Lamborghini Temerario. That car is well into the game all of a sudden. The Lamborghini was looking very quick at the Norisring, and certainly the early season's issues they were having with it. But for a bracket on the rear wing to give them a little bit more adjustment and a 0.1 increase in boost as well, and the car's suddenly really back in the game, and Mirko Bortolotti looking very much at home around the streets of Nuremberg. At the moment is Ben Durr back up there again. They've been trading positions at the top throughout this session. It's a 49.305, so we're still a little over a second off the fastest time in quali last year. Of course, the tyre is different this year as well. The one thing I haven't mentioned is actually this free practice has a little bit more significant than all the other free practice sessions of the year. Normally the free practice is just about establishing a setup, scrubbing in tyres and all the rest of it. But this year, and has been the case since 2022, we have a different format for qualifying. Because the track is so small, at just 2.1 kilometers around, the race directors very wisely decided that putting 21 cars out for quali at the same time, not such a great idea. So what will happen is that the free practice times from this session and the next session later on this afternoon will be combined, and the quickest driver from the free practice session will go into Group A, Group 1. Also, positions 3, 5, 7, 9, and all the other odd numbers down to 21, they too will go into Group A. Group B will be made up of the even numbers in free practice. That will be 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So they will run separately in qualifying. We'll have Group 1, Group A, if you will, that will go first tomorrow morning in quali, and then Group 2 will go second in quali, and the fastest driver out of those two groups will start on pole position, and the rest of his group will line up on that row behind him, and the second group, the fastest driver in that second group, will line up on the outside front row, and the rest of his group will line up behind him. And then what will happen on Sunday for the second race is the groups will be reversed. So Group 2, Group B, will go first for quali, and then Group A, Group 1 will go second. So everybody has a shot at going first, everybody has a shot at going second. Sounds to me like a fairly fair way of doing quali.
Yeah, and I think it's great that they do two groups, because as you see now, there's a car every 100 meters basically, and then everyone would like to back up in the last corner to make their gap, and you're gonna have quite some frustrated faces. So I think it's really good that they do it like this, and also that they make it fair that the Saturday Group A is starting, Sunday Group B with the quali, because obviously there will be a difference in track grip just naturally, because the cars put more rubber on the track. So normally the second group is the faster one, but never say never. We will see tomorrow.
No, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think in one of the qualies last year, I ought to have checked this really, that it was somebody from the first group who set the pole position time.
It might have been Jordan Pepper who did the pole in Group 1.
Yes, you're right. Now, and I remember him watching the screen in the pits as the second group and then claiming that pole position. And of course, he turned that into his first ever win in DTM. The other race winner was one Mr. Thomas Preining. He is a previous winner here, and he has won now 3 times around the streets of Nuremberg. So he, along with Jordan Pepper, were the 2 winners last time. And Thomas Preining, who clearly knows his way around here. We've got 2 other winners starting in the DTM. We've got Nicky Tim, who's taken his one and only win. What a win that was a couple of years ago here. And Marco Wittmann, who won here back in 2018. He would dearly love to please the home crowd. But Thomas Preining, with 3 wins, comes into this clearly as something of a favourite. And of course, Thomas Preining is on the crest of a wave at the moment. And we say congratulations to him and to Ricardo Feller and to Bastian Boos on that historic win from the pit lane in the 24 Hours of Spa-Francorchamps last weekend. A race, Maurice, that you were in as well. We're looking good for a podium for a while. I think last year's DTM champion might have had something to do about that. About that not happening. But it was a great race. Hot race. How challenging was Spa-Francorchamps? What was that? The temperature was in the 40s or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. First of all, congrats also to my previous teammates and my friends, Tommy, Ricky, and Basti, all abbreviations. No, but they did a great race. As for us, it was really hot. I think it was 40+ degrees. The cockpit reached between 60 and 70 degrees. The drink bottle is not water, it's more tea. It was
not hot tea, I take it.
But it was very demanding, and it took a few days to really calm down from it again.
Yeah.
We had a really good race until like you mentioned.
Moment.
I think enough's been said. Other than that, I'm really happy for Porsche also that we won the race. It was amazing, and it was also a great fight with the Ferrari, with the Windward boys, who are also active now again in the DTM. So they have quite a short recovery period, and they have to be full beans again. And I'm very sure that they're all really happy that it's not that hot again, because it would have been very demanding for them.
Yeah, hot seems to be the topic at the moment. We had a boiling hot Lausitzring, a boiling hot Spa as well. But I imagine for Thomas, for Ricardo and for Bastian, they must come here with a spring in their step. Because I remember when Nicky Tim won Spa 24 and then came here the week later and won here. And it must give you that boost. You must come here feeling like you could conquer the world.
Yeah, I really think so. And it's the same like we mentioned earlier about Ben Deur. Once you have that weight off your shoulders, or you just have the momentum of a success, everything becomes a little easier or lighter to do. You just have that momentum, that positive energy with you. The task ahead stays the same, so carrying a good feeling is nice, but it doesn't make driving easier. They still have to do the same job. But definitely in the difficult moments, they just have a little bit of momentum that might help them swing in the right way. Yeah.
Like Thomas Preining needs any more momentum around here. Certainly that by far the most successful driver on the Norisring that is racing here this weekend. And he's had a fairly mixed year. Of course, he started the season off with that win at the Red Bull Ring and looked like he was on his way to sorting out a repeat of his 23 title fairly early on. But it's been quite a challenge since then. He had a 13th place. Of course, he had the success ballast on board for race 2 at the Red Bull Ring. Followed that up with a 7th and an 8th. He's had a 12th and a 10th. So he's been consistently in the points and in the championship. Oh, what a great view this is of the crew working hard and come to you. Great helmet cam. We break away there for a moment as Nicola Bart's car is serviced.
Yeah, and also what's also very interesting for this weekend is that we have a slower pit speed limit.
Yes.
So the cars are going 40 kph instead of 50. And we have 3 meters more margin between all the gantries, which is great for these guys, the mechanics, because it can be quite dangerous. And if you see how focused they have to be with just putting the wheels on the car as fast as possible, I mean, going 6 or even sub 6 seconds is remarkable. So
Yes.
it's quite nice for them that there's a little bit of danger taken out. I have huge respect for them, and if you look how often they have to practice to get to these times, it's yeah, hats off to them. It's simply incredible.
It's insane, it really is, and in challenging conditions. I mean, you think of Norisring where it was in the 30s and they're all in fireproof suits and having to do all of that, and the pressure, just one mistake, and of course we saw that last week where a mistake can cause a penalty for a driver in an instant. The pit stops are practiced throughout the night, as you say. You walk up the pit lane late at night on a Friday or Saturday night, and the teams are there, particularly Manti and Emil Frey, who between them are the quickest stoppers, and that is borne out by the fact they're leading in the pit stop challenge. But there's so much pressure on the team members, isn't there?
Yeah, and I really have huge respect for them. I also watched the race at Zandvoort in person, so I was in the box of the team. And just the pressure that you feel also on the mechanics is something I never realized as I did the season last year. That, you know, there's also a build-up for them. They have to also do their warm-up, get into the focus. And it's, yeah, simply hats off to all of those guys that they can deliver in such a way. As we see Tommy Preining here doing his laps, and you can just see how bumpy it is everywhere, navigating through the chicane and flirting with the wall on the exit here. It's a short track, but definitely a really fun one, and it's quite rewarding once you get
onto what looks like paving slabs. So I was walking that yesterday, and it's parts of it, there's quite a step up on it, and that must be quite challenging coming out of that corner, going from the tarmac to what feels like slippery concrete.
Yeah, it's a very weird kind of structure, as you said. I never drove her in the wet, but I'm going to be quite curious if it rains, what would happen there, because I don't think concrete is the perfect grip provider in the wet. So it's something for great action. And it's also banked a little bit towards you, so you can actually take more speed through the corner because you know it's going to catch you a little bit. And then it's going to be all about, you know, minimizing the difference with your tire and the wall. We're gonna see some guys also touching it, which is also a way, you know, if you do a race weekend on a street track, you need to leave with some scratches on the car, otherwise you didn't push enough.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're looking at Kel van der Linde there, who's clearly pushing quite hard, giving the camera a bit of a shake as he comes past. Jack Aitken came up with a great quote last year, or was that the year before? He said, "The Norisring is where wing mirrors go to die and track rods cower in fear." And I think that is a great thing, although some anorak on social media said, "Oh, I think you'll find they're not wing mirrors, they're door mirrors." I'd say you should probably go out and touch grass for a little while and get some reality, but we call them wing mirrors. Interestingly, in Porsche, I'm told that if you lose a wing mirror, you've probably lost part of the car because the wing mirror doesn't protrude as far as it used to on a Porsche.
Yeah, that's very true. If you hit the mirror, then your wheel is already bent inwards quite a lot. So for us, it's going to be the rear wheel because we have that lovely shape, which makes the Porsche so nice, in my opinion. But for example, with the Lamborghini or the Ferrari, the mirror is the most outer part of the car. And it's really not that nice, especially in a sprint race, to lose your mirror. I mean, we joke about it, but it's really suboptimal, because if you go racing side by side so close with each other and you don't have a mirror to check where your competitor is at, you just lose that slight racing advantage that you can really place your car exactly where you want to place it. So the boys are going to have to be careful to keep them on the car.
That's really interesting because, I mean, in Formula One, they say the mirrors are kind of almost there for vanity because they vibrate so much and they're so small you actually can't see much, but clearly the mirrors are, you've got good visibility in them when you're racing.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's also interesting to know is each GT3 car nowadays has a rear camera inside the car. So in the right around the middle console, there's a rear view camera which actually plays the role of a mirror. But if you go side by side and you see a car is going to dive towards the inside of you, it's really nice to be able to see where exactly did he place his car. in order to fight him in the best way. And then the outside mirrors can be quite a help.
Quite a help indeed. We're on board with Nicky Tim as he comes into the pits, that previous winner. So on board with the Come To You Racing Aston Martin. Yeah, good view there of the tents here. So we don't have the traditional garages because this circuit is constructed especially for this event. I'm just going to give you some really interesting stats, well, interesting in inverted commas, if I can find them, about this circuit. It is, as we look again at the championship there, just keeping one eye on that, because that is what it's all about, earning those points. It's the Motorsport Club of Nuremberg who operate this and turn the public roads between Zeppelinfeld and Dutzendijk into a race circuit. There are 600 volunteers who put in around 10,000 hours over 2 weeks to set this circuit up. And then there's another week spent dismantling it. Here we go, 5 kilometers of triple crash barriers, 5 kilometers of safety fences, 1 kilometer of mobile concrete crash barriers, and 110 six-packs. Not yet. 6x6 tyre bundles, 3 kilometres of water and sewage pipes, and over 5 kilometres of power cable. Additional seating for 25,000 spectators, and 12 kilometres of construction fencing around this event site. That is one hell of a project, don't you think?
If they would have 6-packs, they can bring one to us in the box.
Yeah, like I'm not confused enough as it is. Right, we're looking down, and there are that is one of the many grandstands I mentioned earlier on. The seating, for want of a better word, on the pit straight has a bit of work been done on the concrete steps. Having a bit of work done on the Stein Tribune, that's the word I was looking for, I got there in the end. Having a bit of work done on it at the moment, so it's kind of covered off with scaffolding and various other things, so a bit more pressure on the grandstands, a bit more pressure out in turn one as well. It's getting busy. There's Mirko Bortolotti rehearsing passing through the penalty box. He's going to hope that's the only time he passes there. With the pit limit down to 40 kilometres an hour, because the cars have only one setting, I'm led to believe, for the pit limiter, as we look again at the championship standings, it means that the penalty box has also a reduced speed limit. That's also down to 40 kilometres an hour, and the race director has very kindly made the penalty box, which is normally 50 metres, he's made it a bit shorter to compensate for the fact they're passing through it slower. But it's important, you even have to rehearse going through the penalty box, don't you?
It was always a part of our FP1 and FP2 procedures to do 1 or 2 penalty laps, because it's something that you can also optimize, because in theory you only lose 5 seconds, but you also have the breaking down and speeding up part, turning in early. As we see it now, it's on the inside of the exit of turn 1. So it's something that you'll see drivers practice. I don't think everyone is doing it, but let's say the experienced ones, they know what to do, but it's always important to understand. Obviously, it's not the goal to have a penalty lap, but if you do so, you prefer to lose as little time as possible. Yeah, all about the hundredths, all about the thousandths of a second. Right, well, let's have a look at what is occurring. We've been chatting away here. We've only got 17 and a quarter minutes left of this session in the glorious sunshine here in Nuremberg. Around the streets, as we see 2 of the winners of Spa 24 coming past, and we hear Bastian Boost, one of them, on team radio. So into the pit lane comes Bastian Boost, keeping to that 40 kilometres an hour speed limit. That's going to feel painfully slow. So at the moment, it's Ben Dur, 49.305. 49 second laps. That is nice and quick, isn't it? He is the fastest of anybody at the moment. Lucas Auer up there, as has been the case much of the season, 49.350. So about 400ths of a second off the time of Ben Dur. Then it's Mirko Bortolotti, Jules Gounon, Max Powell up in P5 at the moment. Mauro Engel, Arjun Maini, and Timo Glock, hoping for some of his bad luck, which seems to have been going on for about 2 years. He needs to stop walking under ladders. In 8th place at the moment, so that's good for him. Then it's Nicky Tim in 9th, Tom Calender in 10th, Thierry Vermeulen in 11th, Marco Mappelli 12th, Matteo Cairoli, championship leader in 13th, Thomas Preining 14th,
Don't be lulled into a false sense of security, everybody. Finn Wieberhaus in 15th, and then Bastian Boos, Ricardo Feller, Kelvin van der Linde down in 18th at the moment in the BMW. Luca Engser, Marco Wittmann, and Nicola Bart. So the two BMWs quite a long way down at the moment. How much attention should we pay to lap times? Is it a case of, oh, they're lacking pace? Is it a case of maybe a team and drivers not wanting to show their hand too much? Certainly early on with the BOP in the back of their minds. How important are these times, do you think, in FP1?
Yeah, it's really hard to judge per team, I would say. I think some teams go all out, some teams are mindful of what they do. So it's not always the case that the picture on the Friday is the picture on Saturday. But definitely, I was also always a fan of being able to push, because you want to read the car balance, what it's like, and you want to know what the car behaves like on the limit. As we also see now, there's quite a few drivers going out on new tires. Jules Gounon and Maro Engel, you see that they are preparing their quali simulation for what they do. It's going to be interesting, and I think we will know by tomorrow morning what the tendency is going to be like. On the other hand, today it's very important. It's a street track. You haven't driven here since a year, so you cannot just drive around and think about drinking coffees.
Oh, coffee, that would be nice. Absolutely, and this is where this circuit is so different to anything else, because we can't practice here at any other point. This is the first that anybody's been here this year. One thing we saw at Norisring 2 weeks ago in some of the free practice sessions was a driver who'd go purple in sector 1 on one lap, purple in sector 2 on the next lap, and then purple in sector 3 on the lap after that. And it felt a little bit like maybe pushing it but not hooking the lap together. And I'm guessing there is an element of, well, you are worried a little bit. You're thinking, well, BOP don't want to get hit with something overnight, so maybe just keeping your cards close to your chest. Or am I being a cynical old whatever now?
Well, what's interesting for you to know is even if a driver would do this, there's still the theoretical lap times there and all the sectors that the scrutineers can string together. So it's
no hiding.
It's not that easy, I think, for the drivers to do. I think it's also something the teams are maybe influencing. But in my opinion, also the way it was last year, it was always pushing on Friday. That's also the experience I had with the team, just to push and show what you have, and not to play any games. I think that's the best thing to do.
Absolutely, and I like the fact you can see the air temperature's gone up a degree since we started this session. I like the fact there's nowhere to hide in one of these things. There's so much information in this day and age of information and telemetry. There is nowhere to hide, and yeah, that's really interesting to see. As we look at Nicky Tim, he likes it around here. He's won around the streets of Nuremberg. His dad has won in a DTM car around these streets as well. So he would dearly love to get his second win around here, as we just have confirmation of that fastest time set by Ben Durr of 49.305. So Ben, who has occupied that top spot on the timing screens for a while now, and although we've seen Mirko Bortolotti and Lucas Auer knocking on the door, if you pardon the pun, they have not actually got on top of the Durr at the moment, who is at the top, the 49.305, but he will be brimming with confidence after last week. I was talking about Jules Gounon in 4th place. He needs a bit of good luck. He just feels as though the odds are stacked against him at the moment. He's shown the pace, he's shown the talent, as we look at the 2 times winner, Matteo Cairoli, and is he rehearsing? No, he's not rehearsing going to the penalty box. He's backing out of it, just finding a bit of space at the moment. So quite important, again, to find a bit of space. The track's looking very busy. We've got all bar 6 cars out on the track, so it's quite crowded out there at the moment. So just Matteo just backing out of it, trying to find a bit of space. Maybe he's going to do a push lap, maybe. Yeah,
it might be. You see that he's just on the outlap with 1 lap on his tires, so he's preparing his tires to have a quali simulation. You see there's quite a spread now between drivers. For example, Marco Wittmann has the most laps at the moment with 49 on his tire, so he'll be sliding around on his BMW. But it looks like everyone is going to prepare their new tire run to have a read of the car for the quali simulation, which is ever so important. And as you saw how hard Matteo had to try to keep everyone, you know, being able to do their lap and not intervene, I think it shows how important it is to have two groups in the qualifying.
Yeah, absolutely. It also shows how seriously everybody takes these free practice sessions. Anyone who thinks they are tootling around and thinking about the aforementioned coffee are very much mistaken. And Matteo and the crew at Emil Frey Racing still getting on top of the new Evo package for the Ferrari, which has good and bad aspects. And that's what Jörg Flack, the technical director of Emil Frey, says. He says it's got good and bad aspects, but we found a way to deal with the bad aspects, which is really good. The Ferrari Evo pack has less downforce, so they've deliberately shed a bit of downforce to gain some top end straight line speed, but it does make the car a bit of a handful in high speed corners. They've also got other changes, including revised air inlets for better brake and engine cooling and tweaked gearbox ratios. And on screen at the moment, Marco Mappelli, he would say, cruelly robbed of what could have been his first ever win in the DTM in race 1 at the Lausitz-Ring, but for speeding under a full course yellow, dropped down into second place. But getting on top of that car as well, we've already mentioned it, the Temerario, which is the first Lamborghini that's been developed by Lamborghini on their own as opposed to with Audi, and with that twin turbo engine rather than the naturally aspirated V10, they're really getting on top of that. But one of the things that both Chris Hartley and myself have said many times, and I think it's really very relevant here as we look at Mauro Engels, the likes of Mauro Engel, Lucas Auer, who are in the same car, in the same team, with the same crew and the same engineers as last year or even the year before in some cases. That has to be something of an advantage when you've got that consistency.
Absolutely, 100%. I think if you just can communicate almost without looking at each other, but just by feeling, and the engineer being able to feel what the driver needs and what information you need to provide him and things like this make a huge difference over the long term. I'm really impressed by the little time it took Matteo, for example, to be winning races against also a very good Thierry Vermeulen, who is already in the championship for years and has the same engineering and team, etc. But also if you look at the likes of, you know, Tommy Preining, he's there for ages already with the same structure. This year it's changed a little bit for him with his main race engineer departing and a very known Patrick Arkenau stepping in place, which is working really well, we must say. But it's definitely something that's also important for them to optimize.
Yeah, I know that Tommy had said that it's like being a married couple almost with your race engineer, but Patrick has stepped in. He's an experienced man, isn't he?
Definitely. He's someone that also played a very big role in my career. He's the managing director of racing in Manthey, and he's someone that is sorted on all aspects. He knows everything about the car, about driving. You know, he's someone that I've a lot of respect for, and there's very little people who know more and are more invested into racing as he is. So I think he's the perfect candidate to help Tommy on his quest to the title.
Like he needs any help. Right, well, we're seeing here 7.25 minutes remaining. Ben Durr still the quickest man out there. 49.305, but Nicky Tim has jumped up into second place. Is he rapidly becoming the expert around the streets of Nuremberg in the 007 Aston Martin? Come to you racing. So we're on board with Nicky Tim. We can see what it looks like from his perspective. Looks terrifying to me, going that close to the walls, heading to speeds in excess of 265 kilometers an hour in towards turn 1. So this is the long stretch here. About a kilometer, I think, isn't it, out of turn 4. There is a turn 5 in theory, but they take that absolutely flat out just before the pit lane. And then the heavy braking into turn 1. I've said it already, I'll say it again, the scene of much controversy into that turn one. It is an overtaking opportunity, but you need to get it right. Let's have some team radio from Thomas Priding.
Okay, Tommy, boxes lap, box, box. Penalty lap practice, penalty lap practice.
Oh, great penalty lap practice. That's what you don't want. Well, that's what you said, and it's about the small details, isn't it? Because you get a penalty lap, you can easily lose another second if you get it wrong.
Exactly, and it's you know, it's very funny. We just spoke about it, and you know, as being part of Manthey, I know they will practice it because you just have to have all boxes checked, and you can see with this also that Patrick is very comfortable in his situation. He's just very clear to Tommy what to do, and it's something very important. Obviously, Tommy will not aim to have to do a penalty lap tomorrow or Sunday, but still to have it covered and to lose as little time as possible is very important.
Let's have some more team radio, this time Ben Durr. Well, he's another one that's taken a vow of silence, I think. So that might pop up in a moment. If it does, I'll stop talking. It would be a miracle. Up ahead of him, there's Luca Exler in another of the Lamborghini Temeraria. So Luca has had a couple of good finishes. He's had a couple of sixth places. Of course, he had that non-finish in the first race at the Lausitz last time out. So Luca currently in 15th place in the championship, which is certainly further back than he would have liked, but of course developing that Temeraria as well. We're still waiting for Arjumani to stand on the top step of the podium. It's not going to be too long now, is it? He got another pole position at the Lausitz last time out. Right, well, you see the top speeds. Well, my 265 was a little bit optimistic. Top speed there for Ben Durr, Arjumani, both at 256. We just hear some team radio there from Nicky Tim. Yeah, 256 kilometres an hour. Terrifying. And also Thierry Vermeulen, 254 kilometres an hour. There's Timo Glock up there. That McLaren's got some legs on it, hasn't it? And Jules Gounon. Mentioned Jules Gounon a little bit earlier. He has had a lot of bad luck, and he must feel as though he is due something good before too long. Just everything seems to be stacked against him. And I certainly, when he joined DTM last year, I thought, well, he's going to be a race winner in his opening season. I think everybody did, but he's just had a lot of bad luck, hasn't he? Yeah,
and also if you look compared to Maro, who seems to be very successful this year, I think it's tough for him. And you know, Jules had quite some good performances already in the first race weekend at the Red Bull Ring, and then yeah, just very unfortunate for him. But he's a very good driver. It shows also with his performance in the hypercar at Le Mans and the WC in general. So it'll be a matter of time. I think once the small issues are sorted out, he will be there, because on driver skill he's definitely able to win races.
Yeah, and of course last time at the Lausitz Winwood had a problem with both Morrow and with Jules. They both received penalty laps in race 2, and it was all because the same plugger, the guy who puts the wheel onto the car, put the wheel down briefly. He had sweat pouring into his eyes. He couldn't see what he was doing. You can see the pressure on when you're doing those tyre changes, and he had sweat running into his eyes. He adjusted his glasses, put the wheel down briefly, but that was enough, because the rules say the wheel has to be held with both hands at all times, and both cars in the Winwood team, Maro Engel and Jules Gounon, received penalty laps. As a result, it seems harsh, seems so harsh, but I guess the rules are the rules, and you've just got to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's super harsh, and those guys are doing such a difficult job. But yeah, like you said, if everyone has to stick to those rules, then if you don't, unfortunately, it's a penalty. Obviously, it's quite a special scenario what you described, but yeah, it's unfortunately part of the games, and rules are rules.
Yeah.
As we see Max Paul putting a purple sector in now in sector 1. It's quite special actually that Ben Durr and Nicky Team, they did identical lap times. It shows how short the track actually is.
Yes! Wow, that's, yes, 49.305. So that's quite impressive to get it the same down to 1,000th of a second. But as you say, the shorter lap makes that a little bit more possible. But purple in sector 1 for Max Powell. So he's a man who's given it a push at the end of this session. He's done a personal best in sector 2 as well. Sector 3 was a couple of tenths down on the fastest time of all. So he's very much up there. Max Powell, another driver who probably deserves a bit of good luck. Had 2 non-finishes last time out at the Norisring. His best finish so far this season, sorry, it's 1 non-finish, I beg your pardon, and a 14th last time out. It was a non-finish, Zandvoort in race 2, but his best finish of the season has been a 13th place. That was in the first race at Zandvoort, so he'll be looking to improve on that. But those purple sectors must be very encouraging, even when you're in a free practice session, to see towards the end of a session, the purples. That's got to be encouraging, isn't it?
Definitely. You see he's also knocking on the door of Timo Glock on his rear bumper, and now you see that a few laps ago the guys went out on new tires, and now everyone has it in the operating window temperature-wise, and you see that everyone is putting some green or even purple sectors on the board. So now it's kind of crunch time of FP1, let's put it that way, and it's a small taste of what we're gonna get on Saturday morning.
So maybe now, at the end of this session, we're starting to get an idea of some of the form. Well, Kelvin van der Linde would dearly love to have a bit of form. He's in 18th at the moment. He said, I've come here to win. I haven't come here to finish second. Done that, been there, got the T-shirt. He took that win in race 2 at Zandvoort, but he's had a couple of non-finishes and would really love the luck to turn a little bit for him as well in the Schubert Motorsport BMW. As the clock now strikes to 0, and any cars that are on a hot lap, they can still continue when they cross the start-finish line. That time will count. So Mauro Engel, personal best in sector 1, a purple in sector 2 as well. Here he comes out of Dutzendijk, out across the line comes Mauro Engel, and he breaks the heart of Max Powell. He makes the headline at the end of the session by going quickest at 49.202. So Mauro Engel waiting until the very last minute to show everybody how it's done, and goes to the top of the timing screens once again. Max Powell in second in the Lamborghini. Ben Durr, who was at the top for so long, in third, but only a 10th off that fastest time. Nicky Tim up there as well. Mirko Bortolotti, good to see him back at the right end of the timing screen. And he will feel a little bit more confident maybe heading into quali tomorrow morning. Lucas Auer up there as well. He's in 6th place ahead of Jules Gounon, Arjen Meiney, Finn Wieberhaus, Marco Mappelli. I'd say maybe the BMWs maybe looking and thinking, what do we got to do? Because 19th and 21st for Kelvin van der Linde and Marco Wittmann respectively.
I mean, they always know how to turn it up on the Saturday and Sunday race, so it's good for the action. Let's see. I mean, it's quite impressive. We have 21 cars in 7 tenths, almost 7 tenths, so it's incredible. So even if you're P21, it might look bad as a result, but only 7 tenths off. So it's a lot of ingredients for good action this weekend. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. That is insane, isn't it? 0.732 separating the entire field. Yes, it's a short lap, but it is incredibly competitive in the DTM at the moment as we look down on the tenths in pit lane and we take a look at the classification from FP1. Round 4, Mauro Engel, the quickest man, a 49.202. Max Powell in second, 0.023 off. Then it's Ben Durr, Nicky Tim, Mirko Bortolotti, Lucas Auer, Jules Gounon, Arjen Meiney, Finn Wieberhaus, another one, doing a good job there up in the top 10. And Marco Mappelli, who will be looking to put to rights all that happened last time out at the Norisring. So he's at the right end of the field. So great stuff as we look at the remaining drivers and times flashing up through your screens. Thank you so much for joining us for FP1. We're going to be back a little bit later on today for FP2. We're going to be on air at 6 o'clock local time for that. So from myself, Brian Oliver, and Norisring, we'll see you later on. See you later. Bye-bye.